now I'm just going to point out a few things. I'm going to speak in my first person because I'm going to speak about Christine. One of the things that I'm a passionate person like you, Gary, and I have strong opinions. You probably figured that out. And yeah, no surprise. The work that I am constantly coming back to, and this is part of the conversation that we just mentioned earlier about awakenings, the workshop, and so on. I'm constantly coming back to is what is my intention here? What is my intention here? And is my intention to prove myself right, to be right, to have other people agree with my opinions? Now, just knowing that, if that's what I'm aiming to do, that's different, very different to let's have a conversation where something, the third way will emerge. So let me draw this for you. And I'm speaking about myself here, just to be really clear. Yeah. I do exactly the righteous thing a lot. So let me show you this. This is how it works. You have two people who hold a right point of view, but they're different. Let me give you a very banal but simple example. If I show you, see that black dot? What are you seeing? A black dot? Everyone see a black dot? Yeah, everyone see a black dot? It's a pen. Yeah, if you only get to see that, it's a black dot. If I change the view, it's the same thing. It's just that you've got more information, different perspective. Yep. Unfortunately, so, I'm right and you're right. Can we be both right at the same time? Huh. Or can it be true, but partial? Is it true that this is a black dot? If I show you that, it is, but it's also a pen. And that may seem like a really banal example, but if your world is only exposed to this, and my world is only exposed to this, we're both right, but we only have partial rightness. Now, I want to give you another perspective here. The intention, and this is what I'm watching in myself. Let's kick off my shoes. This is what I'm watching in myself, because the intention to rightness is another form of domination and superiority. And it excludes a third or even 10th way. If I hold to this, my righteousness, this is a domination, superiority, fundamentalist position. Whether we like it or not. There, see? Right. This is a fundamentalist position because it squeezes out the optionality of that your rightness is true but partial. And when we come across people where we both hold a right position that's different, and we're only doing this, then this is the conversation, and it actually becomes argumentative. Nothing happens in that space except argumentative. Each of us trying to win the position. Yeah. And so what you told me in a different way, while still holding on to this, but what we can do is we can open ourselves to, and this is where we get into geometry, we can open ourselves into that there is, if we stay in the possibility that we hold a truth that's partial, or another way of putting that, if we are open-minded, because right that is domination, superiority, and fundamentalist is closed. My opinion is the right one. It's closed and there is no optionality. So if we can hold that we have a true perspective that is also partial, and we're in conversation with somebody who has a different true but partial perspective, then we may actually find a way that integrates both of those. And in the process, this is the arrow of emergence or evolution, or we grow up. We grow up because we're willing to sit and say, and this is what a conversation for understanding does, I have a perspective, that's green, a green dot. I have a perspective of a green dot. You have a perspective of a pen or a line, or, you know, whatever that is, a green marker. Can we sit and actually discover that both of them are true? And there's the third way. And as we do that, we grow up. And so the biggest distinction here is that it's the 3 points: open, arrested, or closed. You cannot work with anyone, including yourself, when we're closed. Don't even try. There has to be a willingness and an openness to true but partial, or an openness to perhaps I'm missing something and I need to increase the contours and the nuance of my perspective to see that there is a third, fourth, fifth, 10th, or other way. Let me show you another thing that's so important in the dare to care piece is under this, we have people with all sorts of different opinions, religious points of view, cultural background, upbringing, all of that sort of stuff. When we spend time in the back and forth, arguing in this area, back and forth, like it's a mess. My point of view, my way of seeing the world, my religion, my God, my belief about health, you know, all of that. It's just this mess. Is that kind of an artistic demonstration of the current world at the moment? The shorthand version. Yeah, it's just this mess. So another way to come together, in my opinion, is to go to humanity. Let's look at things that we can all agree on. Let's look at the things that we can all agree on. Now, not everyone does, but generally your friendship groups will. I will have an issue on this, you know, if I'm speaking to the Taliban, because we might all agree that if we're wanting to give rights, it's rights for all and not just a select group, you know, it's opportunities. So this is where we look at values, we look at respect, we look at justice. that is not just for one group of people and not for another. We look at the things, that the values and the humanity pieces that are at a higher order of context than all of this. Do we want to preserve our earth so that it is viable for human existence in 100 years? Is that a place to start? You know, like, can we start there? Do we believe that if there is a just system, it needs to apply to everybody, or does it apply to some people and not the other? So those type of higher order grounding places of agreement, because if we can find common ground here, then these discussions change their contours. If you don't believe that a certain group of people, women, for example, have the same rights as men, if I were a Taliban member, if I don't believe that, we're not going to be able to unite. So, you know, at this human level. But generally, the people that are in our Western world will find a way to find some commonality that can bring us out of here. And then it becomes a question not of this, it becomes a question, if this is what we hold for each other, then how do we get there? And is arguing down here going to get this? Well, it hasn't for the last several thousand years. So I'm not sure that that's a very good, successful model. But can we come here and look at where we come together